Monday. As I say, that low cloud will lift across the south and southeast to leave plenty of fine weather across the bulk of the UK on Monday. Some sunshine coming through at times, but notice towards the north and northwest, certainly across the north and west of Scotland into western parts of Northern Ireland. Some rain moving in as we go through the day and turning quite breezy here, certainly into the afternoon. Temperatures, though, still pretty respectable for the time of year, peaking around about 13 degrees towards the northeast of the UK, up to 15 or so towards the southeast. That's 59 in Fahrenheit. Outbreaks of rain will move their way southeastwards across Scotland and Northern Ireland as we go through the overnight period, pushing into the north of England by Tuesday morning, but staying mostly fine towards the southeast. Further rain moving in from the northwest across the UK as we go through the rest of the week, but weakening as it moves its way southeastwards, and temperatures still above the seasonal average.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could be a spring winner, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag and not one, but 2 sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock on Sunday, the 23rd of March, and this is the weekend on GB News. Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. Now, your stories this hour. It's been reported that Rachel Reeves has only 6 months to save her job as she plans to slash state spending by £15 billion. Cuts that could result in tens of thousands of civil servants' jobs being axed. Will the Chancellor's gamble pay off, or is she toast?
Making a big mistake.
He's only a kid.
And as Netflix drama Adolescence, you're seeing scenes from it there, hits home. School children will be given anti-misogyny lessons under new government plans. I saw this last night. I really want to know what you think and what to talk about it. Do you think it's right that kids are taught about misogyny in school, including primary school? And you're not going to want to miss this. A fury has erupted as a primary school in England has scrapped, wait for it, the Easter service and Easter bonnets out of respect to other religions. In a move that has been branded as disgraceful and shambolic. Is Easter being cancelled? And is that important? And yes, God, I can't believe it myself. Lockdown 5 years on. It seems a lifetime ago. Or does it? Now, a new survey has revealed whether the public think that imposing the lockdowns was a good idea. Stay tuned to find out the results. I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is The Weekend on your weekend. So thank you so much for your company on this Sunday at lunchtime. I know how busy weekends can be, so I really genuinely appreciate it because, and I say it every weekend, my favourite part of the show is talking to you out there because that's what GBNews is about. And in particular, that's what this show is about. It's about you, what you're thinking, what you want to say, get your voices out there. So have a chat about what we're talking about or what you want to talk about. It's a Sunday lunchtime. Always a good time to sit down, put your feet up and relax. And it's very easy to get involved in the show. Simply go to gbnews.com/yoursay and join in our conversation. Now, I say our because I've got a real treat for you today. It's a broadcaster and author, Nikki Hodgson, looking absolutely fabulous, I have to say. You should see her skirt, we might show you later. And former senior Conservative advisor, Charlie Rowley, who's not wearing a skirt. He does sometimes, you know. Did at Christmas, didn't you? I remember that one. But before we get stuck into today's stories, let's get the news headlines with Sam Francis, who's normally wearing shorts. It's a Sunday, why not? Sam, take it away.
Very good afternoon to you. I am fully clothed, I'm pleased to say. Let's start with the top stories. It is, of course, Pope Francis. He has made a first public appearance in 5 weeks, waving to cheering crowds from a Rome hospital window. Doctors say the 88-year-old suffered 2 very critical episodes that put his life in danger. He was admitted to hospital in February, will now need at least 2 months, they say, of rest at the Vatican. His doctors also say the pontiff is now stable but needs that time to recover. It's the first time the Pope has been seen since his health scare began. Back here at home, an urgent investigation has been launched into the substation fire that caused mass flight cancellations at Heathrow Airport on Friday. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband says the probe will examine the UK's energy resilience to prevent it from happening again. Thousands of people were stranded after nearly 1,400 flights were hit and over 16,000 homes nearby lost power. Counter-terrorism police are now leading inquiries but say it's not being treated as suspicious. Heathrow is now fully operational and former Transport Secretary Ruth Kelly will lead a separate review into the airport's own response. Failed asylum seekers could be sent to the Balkans under early-stage government plans to set up overseas return hubs. Those centres would house people whose asylum claims and appeals have been rejected, including those who can't be returned to unsafe countries like Iran or Somalia. Payments would be made to host countries, with current proposals focused on Albania, Serbia and Bosnia. The move follows a similar idea floated by the European Union and comes after Sir Keir Starmer scrapped the Rwanda scheme. Charities, though, are warning the plans are unworkable, calling them inhumane. The government is planning more than £2 billion in annual cuts to the civil service under a major cost-saving drive. Departments will be told to slash spending on HR, policy and office management by up to 15%. Frontline services are being protected, though, but unions warn thousands of jobs are still at risk. They're urging ministers to now come clean about which services will stop altogether. It comes ahead of Rachel Reeves' spring statement on Wednesday, which you can, of course, catch here live on GB News. And it's as pressure is now growing on her to balance the books without raising taxes. Well, speaking earlier to Camilla Tominey here on the channel, Chief Secretary to the Treasury Darren Jones denied that Labour is heading for austerity. He says There's no return to the past after claims from the party's left the Chancellor is wielding the axe.
There was a huge increase at the budget in the autumn last year, £100 billion of additional capital investment, £40 billion of additional tax rises going straight into frontline public services. That was a big injection of spending because we needed to get a grip of public services after the mess that we found them in from the last Conservative administration.
Meanwhile, Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride said that Rachel Reeves is trying to make out there's nothing to see ahead of her spring statement, but he told GB News it couldn't be further from the truth.
This government has killed growth stone dead, and her fiscal headroom, as it's called, the margin against her targets, has probably evaporated entirely. And that's leading to really what is going to be a much bigger event than what would be a spring statement, which would be simply standing up and effectively reading out what the OBR is saying in terms of its latest forecasts.
And just before I hand you back to Dawn, a breaking update from Kyiv. We're just hearing reports that 3 people, sadly, including a child, have been killed in the latest Russian drone strike there overnight. Fires breaking out in pictures we can see in high-rise buildings. That, of course, comes as US and Ukrainian officials are set to be holding talks today in Saudi Arabia regarding negotiations on a possible end to that war. The Kremlin calling those planned talks with the US difficult and technical. But, of course, these latest strikes causing, as I say, 3 people to lose their lives, including a child, will put some speculation on how successful those talks will now be in Riyadh. And also, just to bring you a breaking update from the world of sport, Lewis Hamilton has been disqualified from the Chinese Grand Prix after technical infringements found on his Ferrari. Ferrari say that it is a misjudgment, though, and that Hamilton should not have been disqualified. He had won Saturday's sprint race in Shanghai. That was the first victory for the Italian team. But as we're hearing now, he is out of that race. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll hand you straight back to Dawn.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you very much, Sam. Right, OK, let's get straight into today's story, shall we? We've got an absolutely packed show for you. I haven't got a second to wait, including some real treats for you coming up. Now, could we be saying farewell to the Chancellor? Yes, that Rachel Reeves lady. Well, plans to cut state spending by $15 billion and slash civil service funding by $2 billion every year could mean she has months to save her job. Also, union bosses have said tens of thousands of jobs will be at risk of redundancy. So is time up for Rachel Reeves? Is Rachel toast, we're asking today. Joining me now is political commentator Benedict Spence. Benedict, lovely to see you this afternoon. It's really not a good morning to be waking up and finding yourself Rachel Reeves, is it?
Is it a day ending in Y? Yes, I think that often is the case these days. Do you know what, actually, I feel a little bit bad for her because she is the butt of all of our jokes, deservedly in some cases, but not entirely. She did inherit a truly dreadful situation from 14 years of those fiscally responsible Conservatives in government that she is having to deal with. But I think the reason why she is under pressure ultimately is because I think Labour were very naive about the scale of the problems that they were going to be inheriting and the difficulty that they would have in actually reversing this. I think that they were still too slightly overawed by the prospect of things like this green revolution and the jobs that might provide, and were very much out of touch, I think, with the prevailing global headwinds, but also the domestic problems that this country faces. Rachel Reeves.
Go on, sorry, carry on, Benedict.
As I say, Rachel Reeves, not entirely to blame for the overall situation, but it's very clear that her first budget, the autumn statement, did not provide anything like the growth that was needed. This was being pointed out to her at the time by such, right-wing free market newspapers as The Guardian and the Financial Times. That should have given you the hint. And nothing. I just think that she has not instilled a sense of calm or confidence that this government actually knows how to get Britain out of the mess it finds itself in.
So what is she going to do? But, something has to be done. So, they've promised they're not going to raise taxes, painting themselves into a very tight corner. So, if she's going to not do that, not go back into work, she's going to have to cut services, borrow more money or basically lie about what's going on?
I mean, that third option is one that has served politicians very well for many decades, but it's kind of what has got us into this problem is the issue. I mean, services will be cut. There's no question about that. It's austerity 2.0. It's probably going to be just as deep as it was when all is said and done, as it was under the coalition. But that's because, of course, she's cutting from a much reduced base. The difficulty is around borrowing is that this is, I think everybody's very aware of that. This is just not a great time to be borrowing more money as a government, especially one that is so vulnerable and so exposed to global financial headwinds and to events overseas. I mean, we're seeing this right now with Trump and his tariff war. We saw this with Ukraine. We've seen this with the Red Sea and what was going on there with the Houthis, the inflationary pressures that external impacts can have. So let's just say hypothetically, China decides in the next 5 years to go to war to try and take Taiwan. This is not a great time to be sort of leaning even further on borrowing. The reality is, long term, Britain needs to alter its planning structures. It needs to get growth by making it easier for people to grow. That's why partly it's right that they aren't thinking about more taxes, because frankly, ordinary people don't have the taxes left to pay. But it's going to be things like energy. It's going to be things like infrastructure. And I'm afraid that is going to mean a head-on collision with the Green lobby within her own party. And I think that that's going to be a real problem there. You cannot have growth and go for net zero on the trajectory that we are.
This seems to be the one government that seems to sort of like be going for growth by actually making it more difficult for businesses to operate and employ people. I mean, in no one's economic world has that ever worked, apart from Rachel Reeves. The $64,000 question, Benedict, or the £20 billion black hole question is, if Rachel does go, who is there to replace her?
It's a very good question. I mean, the thing is, one thing that I would say about the Labour front bench is it's been a bit of a race to the bottom in terms of who's the biggest name that's going to get sacked or resign first. You look at lots of the Labour front bench and they're not really covering themselves in glory, apart from, I suppose, the Defence Secretary, Mr. Healy. But apart from him, David Lammy, not doing particularly well. Ed Miliband seems to be in his own little fantasy world. You're sort of looking around for the talent. And there is a lot of it in the Labour backbenches. I'll say this, they were ruthless at the last election at parachuting in people who, in their view at least, are up-and-comers, very smart people, especially around areas like the economy and planning. But the question, I suppose, is it a little too early in the game to be pushing people with no experience of government or even of being an MP to the forefront? I imagine that Keir Starmer was hoping that some of his team, if you like, might get there slowly over the next sort of 2, 3, 4 years. But to be sitting here, and this would be, what, 18 months if Rachel Reeves has 6 months left to save a job? Not even that. That's bad, and that's really concerning.
Indeed, we shall wait with bated breath for the spring statement, which sounds so lovely, doesn't it? Political commentator Benedict Spence, thank you very much for joining us. Always a pleasure to talk to you. OK, now let's see what my panel make of this one. I have, obviously, the lovely Charlie Rowley and the equally lovely Nikki Hodgson with me. OK, Nikki, I'm going to come to you first on this one. I mean, look, she's a woman, the first woman Chancellor. I mean, she's mentioned it lots of times. I mean, I don't want to do her down. However, she's in a bit of a tight corner here, isn't she?
Well, she wanted the job. She was so ambitious. Let's not forget that Rachel Reeves was touted as also the next Prime Minister, as in when Labour wanted to come to power, there was all this talk about, well, actually, she wants Keir's job. Well, there's no chance now. And the cynic in me is kind of wondering if, well, maybe that would be a good reason to get rid of her if they thought she had her eyes on his job. But let's talk about her actual policies. I mean, Labour have just completely misjudged this, haven't they? You know, they've got a massive amount of money to find. They've gone after absolutely the wrong people. I mean, they're considered anti-growth, but they've also been anti-human, going after pensioners and now the disabled, which makes no sense to me. And the national insurance hike that was brought in last year obviously has ruined things for business. And that's fine. Actually, Labour should make those... their policy should come at the expense of business. That's how the left-wing party works. But they haven't done anything dramatic enough. I don't understand why they haven't gone after corporations operating in this country. Things like Amazon, which pay 2-3% tax. You know, so they've managed to annoy the poorest people, and they haven't even taken on the rich. But the people right in the middle are also getting hurt. And she's got, you know, it's the forecast from the OBR that is really damning this week, because growth is going to be half of what was predicted, you know, 1%. So I do think she's on borrowed time.
Do you think she should go?
I mean, well, I think she'll go when Keir Starmer needs to get rid of her. So he's got to very tactically use her to put out these announcements which nobody really wants to deal with, around tax and money. But then when everybody's had enough, then he gets rid of her. That's what he needs to do.
Let her become even more popular.
Absolutely, because she's no friend to him,
Saving his own backside.
Absolutely.
Charlie, that's not a very gentleman thing to do, is it?
Well, borrowed time being, I think, the appropriate word, when we can't afford any more borrowing. We can't have any borrowing. She's got to go.
Disproves that black hole.
Exactly. And I think, look, everything that Nikki said is true, I'm afraid. Look, this is someone for months and months during the general election said she wasn't going to raise national insurance contributions, VAT or income tax. Then, well, we've got this increase in VAT, which hits the backbone of our economy. That hits the people that are employing other people to a point where Keir Starmer couldn't answer the question in the House of Commons today whether it was things like hospices and charities that were going to have to fork out this national insurance contribution and haven't got any money in the bank left to support those particular services. Growth that they've relied on, that they've told us many times that's what this government is all about, has stagnated. It's half. The OBR, as Nikki said, has halved its growth forecast. You can't borrow your way out of the problem. She's going to have to cut spending, something that she doesn't want to do, wouldn't want to do, and many Labour MPs
well, that's austerity.
But that's
the
austerity.
very thing that the Labour government were, when they're in opposition, were saying this is the wrong way to do things.
Exactly, and this is why she is on borrowed, because she's only got one more move to make after this. So she'll come to this spring statement that, as you rightly say, it sounds lovely.
Sounds lovely, doesn't it?
But it's a mini budget. It's an emergency budget, because she's, messed up from her previous budget where she said all these things were going to create growth. It hasn't. So she's now going to have to slash spending for government departments. That won't go down very well. And the next move, the only thing that she'll have to do is either come back to the Commons in 6 months' time to say, it still hasn't worked. I'll either need to borrow even more, which people won't like, or I'm going to have to increase taxes, something she said she was never going to do. So there's no way out now.
OK, let's be fair to Rachel Reeves here, because, I mean, she is not on her own in this. She's not the one solely operating this. She does have a boss, by the way.
Yes, of course she does.
She wouldn't have sat in a room, by the way, on her calculator coming up with this. She would have shared it with other people.
Yeah, of course she would, but she's the face of it. I mean, that's how government works. Of course, lots of people are responsible for decisions made, but you are the person whose head is on the chopping block if it doesn't work. And let's just remember some things about Rachel Reeves. She sort of lied on her CV about being the kind of economist she is. She plagiarised copy for a book about women and economics. She doesn't have... I think she's got more ambition than she's got talent, I'm afraid to say.
I think if there's one department where you need to inspire confidence, and it's confidence in the markets, you can probably say what you want. I mean, you could be Donald Trump, but that Trumpism that even Keir Starmer said we need to channel. In fact, Rachel Reeves said we need to channel that Trumpism kind of approach, because if you inspire confidence in the markets, you can basically do whatever you want. As long as there's confidence there, people will invest, the economy will grow. They don't have the confidence in Rachel Reeves because of that sort of misdemeanour on her CV. They don't have the confidence in her because she's hiked taxes on business already when she said she wasn't going to do it. I think it's a real shame, real one to watch.
Would you say that she is going to be thrown under the bus by her boss?
Well, the problem is that they are, neither of them are business people, and that's part of the attack. There isn't anybody sitting around the cabinet table that's run a business that knows anything about business by the looks of things. So I think he will give her as much time as she will beg for, which is to say, look, OK, I'm going to try this tack now. But her mantra will be, I'm sticking to my fiscal rules, which is not more borrowing and not hiking taxes. So that's why we've got to do all these other small bits in between. But that won't work. So I think there'll come a point where he'll have to say, this really isn't working. We've tanked in the polls. The economy isn't growing. But what she's restrained by is Treasury orthodoxy. There'll be people in the Treasury who don't get the politics or don't care about the politics. They don't care whether it's a Labour government or a Tory government. But they will be saying, these are your options, Chancellor, because you've ruled everything else out. So you've got to stick to this to inspire confidence. That's why she's being led down the path, but it's a path of her own making.
Well, interesting. What do you think? I mean, do you think she should go, or do you think she has literally been thrown under the bus by other people that are working with her on this? It's just not all one woman, by the way. For all the best analysis and opinion on that story, please do go to our website, which is gbnews.com. Now, OK, some good news, hey? I know it's rare. Time is running out for your chance to spruce up your spring and grab designer watches, a designer bag and £17,777 in tax-free cash. Lucky number, by the way. What would you spend it on? Well, it could be all yours, and here's all the details you need to get it.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could be a spring winner, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. Cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag and not one, but 2 sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Oh yeah, good luck indeed, eh? What could you do with that lot? And Rachel Reeves couldn't get hold of that money either, just in case. OK, now I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show. It's absolutely packed.
Police! What are you looking for? You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
Well, those are scenes from the Netflix drama Adolescence, and it really has hit home. It's Netflix's biggest programme ever around the world, I think. But now we're saying school children will be given anti-misogyny lessons under new government plans, and we're talking possibly, potentially, children in primary school. How do you feel about that one? Do you think that's right? All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. You get time to put the kettle on, but don't go too far.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Britain's Newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Is artificial intelligence smarter than you?
Smarter than me.
And me?
I can't even log onto the computer.
Ministers have been told that could be the truth as soon as next year.
There's experts are saying artificial intelligence will overtake human intelligence and that more jobs could be at risk than we think if we don't prepare.
So I speak now to the CEO of Automated Analytics, Mark Taylor. Good morning, Mark. First of all, will you just explain to us, Mark, when we're talking about AI, what do we actually mean?
So I think what we've got to understand is it's actually artificial intelligence, not artificial consciousness. So I'm still not aware of anybody that can teach a computer common sense. I think that's the big difference between human beings and artificial intelligence. This whole thing about AGI, which AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence, the idea of their AI computer being able to process cognitive abilities similar to a human, so they can allow it to kind of calculate and learn intellectual tasks just like a person. So we've implemented AI across 5,000 companies, both in the UK and US. There's not a single reported job loss.
I'm struggling to believe that, Mark.
But companies have actually employed more people because we've made organisations more efficient. I mean, making organisations more efficient means they're more profitable and therefore they can hire more people. So if I take Pizza Hut in America, we've actually increased their employed members of staff by 4%. It'll never be 100%. It'll never be better than a human being because we've got common sense. It's ingrained in us. You know, we learn it from a very young age. And so therefore it won't ever replace, it'll just make us better.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This spring, the Chancellor steps up to the dispatch box to make a statement. But what kind of statement will it be?
Taxes, spending, growth, benefits, cost of living. What's changing? And more importantly, how does it affect you?
Does she have the headroom to make headway?
Will it ease the squeeze or tighten the grip?
Will businesses boom or struggle to survive?
And does the spring statement have real impact, or is it just political posturing?
GB News brings you the analysis that matters. Just what it means for your money, your home, your future.
the Spring Statement 2025, Wednesday on GB News.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you for your company this Sunday lunchtime. Now, should kids have anti-misogyny lessons? Polling shows that 6 in 10 young people think the words and actions of political leaders has led to more misogyny on social media. And now it's been reported that schools will step up their efforts to counter the toxic online influencers, as people such as Andrew Tate, whose name gets mentioned all the time, and incel culture, as examined in the hit Netflix show Adolescence. Have a quick look.
Police! What are you looking for? You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
He's a good kid. Jamie, I want you to listen carefully.
What's going on?
I'm going to start off with asking you.
Do you know a girl called Katie Leonard?
Right, OK, so if you have been living under a rock for the past week, where this story has been literally the hugest thing across every news network, possibly around the world, it is the story of a 13-year-old schoolboy who knifes a 13-year-old schoolgirl to death. And the story is that he's been influenced online by incel culture, which is basically men and boys blaming women for everything, including the fact they can't get any sex, Andrew Tate style, that sort of thing. So now the government are talking about introducing anti-misogyny lessons to kids. And there was also another report yesterday about rape culture in primary schools, where they interviewed children under the age of 10 who were talking about the experiences they had. They had little girls talking about little boys saying, I am going to rape you. These children were 6 years old. So I'm going to ask my wonderful panel about this one. How do we feel about misogyny lessons in school? I mean, Nikki, you've got a little girl, haven't you? So this is very, very relevant for you. You've also seen Adolescence. So tell me what you think about this.
Yeah, I mean, it can't come too soon. You know, I'm a lifelong feminist. I've been the victim of sexual violence myself when I was younger. I've thought a lot about this subject. And we've sleepwalked into this situation. That's what I feel. You know, anybody who's actually shocked by adolescence, where the hell have you been? Have you not been paying attention to what's been going on in society for the past at least 10 years, but before that? I mean, before we ever had social media, we had misogyny. Misogyny is as old as the hills. And the problem has been that social media and the wild, wild west that is the internet have inflamed misogyny. They've spread it. We've got, in many ways, the misogyny we deserve, because we've never tackled it. And finally, now we are accepting that it is affecting our children in a way that is beyond remit. At the end of the day, this does come back down to us as a society and us as parents, what we teach our children. We've got to go back to basics. And also, you know, as a lifelong feminist, I've worked with women for years to try and counter male violence. But what we've always needed is men, because boys listen to men more than they listen to women. Let's just be real about that. And that's what's so impactful about this drama, because it's a lot about the relationship with the dad, where you see the dad thinking that he knows what his son's about and is in touch with them, and there's no emotional connection there at all.
What do you think of this, Charlie? I mean, it is a very... You've seen 2 episodes of it. It's a 4-parter, isn't it? I managed to catch up with the whole thing last night. It is shocking. Made even more shocking that it's filmed in one take. It was just one camera following the whole thing around, so that makes it incredibly claustrophobic, and it really gets the emotions across. But what do you make about this? I mean, we're blaming the government, we're blaming social media, we're blaming schools, we're blaming Andrew Tate. What about parents?
Exactly. That is spot on. And that's why, in answer to the direct question, do we need anti-misogyny lessons in schools? No, because it's way beyond that. As you said, you're now talking about rape culture in primary schools. So anti-misogyny lessons, useless. Beyond, we're way beyond that. It is such a more serious point than that now, or we're at this point in time. So, it is Incredibly depressing. It's very uncomfortable. But you're absolutely right. Parents have to take a bit of responsibility here, because you can't just ask schools, by the way, where we're asking them to sort of, clean kids' teeth in the morning because they can't leave the house or don't know how to clean their own teeth. Then, obviously providing breakfast and school clubs and everything. But the responsibility on schools is just too much now. Online companies have got to take the bulk of responsibility for this, for the content that is out there. But also parents do have to have a responsibility to know, and it's hard. Look, parents want to be friends with their kids. They want to be their best pals and be able to do all the things that you want to do. Go shopping, take them to football, whatever. But you've got to be the parent.
Absolutely.
You've got to be the adult in the room to look at what your kid is looking at. And if it's inappropriate, you block it, or you stop it, or you ban it somehow.
Yeah, I think the real problem though, Charlie, is that a lot of grown men are misogynistic. They've never interrogated their own values around women, and maybe they've been challenged in the past, but they haven't thought enough about it. And so, unfortunately, their children, girls and boys, internalise that misogyny that's perpetuated at home. And this has got to be a societal movement to really get rid of it finally.
You're absolutely right, but as Nikki said before, this isn't something new. How long have we been talking about having to get more male primary school teachers into those schools? Because it's basically dominated by women. And if you are someone who, of a particular age, as a dad, as a parent, who might even be in their 30s now, or maybe in their late 20s. So we're not talking about people that are slightly older that can pontificate about this. This is, a new generation of people that have come in that will see that their kid go back to home to say, Daddy, today I learnt about how we need to pay reparations to God knows what other country, that actually all men are evil, that actually, we learnt about equality and gender and identity. But you as a male, sitting there telling your dad this, your dad is probably going to scoff at it and say, well, what on earth is she talking about? Because it will be a she at the head of that classroom. And it's the influence of parents, male parents, dads, that will impact on their kid to then, when they then see things online, that only triples that view, and therefore leads you down this very, very dark path.
Do you think, talking of dark paths, Nikki, you've been sexually assaulted before in the past, you've worked with women who have been sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
As you say, this problem is as old as the hills. Do you think we will ever get to a stage, and I hate to ask this question, where men will not feel some anger and resentment about women?
It's really interesting because I've been thinking about this, since I was a teenager, and I actually think we are going through a period of greater sexism right now and misogyny. And the reason I think that is because I think it's a reaction to feminism and to equality actually making waves. And actually, if you look at social movements throughout history, it's quite common to get some, one to move forward, and then you get a pushback. But the pushback we need against that has got to be so great that this is the end of it. Do you know what I mean? Because, the statistics are telling us that 1 in 3 women in this country have been sexually assaulted or raped. 1 in 6 children have been sexually assaulted in this country. We can't live like this anymore. We can't not talk about it anymore either, which is why this series is brilliant, because it has to be the thing that we are committed to tackling for the next generation, because we can't see rape and sexual violence continuously escalate. We can't see this rate of prosecutions are at 1%.
Yeah.
It's a crime that's effectively decriminalised.
Nikki, thank you. I think we're running out of time on this one. What do you think? It's a huge subject. Would you be happy to 5-year-olds to be taught about misogyny and about rape culture and why it's not acceptable? They're 5. What do you reckon? I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News, and there's loads more coming up on today's show. But first, it is actually time, slightly late, sorry, Sam, for the headlines with Sam Francis.
Dawn, thank you, and a very good afternoon to you, just after 1:30. The top story, well, an urgent investigation has been launched into the substation fire that caused mass flight cancellations at Heathrow Airport on Friday. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband says the probe will examine the UK's energy resilience to prevent it from happening again. Thousands were stranded after nearly 1,400 flights were hit and over 16,000 homes nearby lost power. Counter-terrorism police are now leading inquiries, but they say it's not being treated as suspicious. The airport is now fully operational. Former Transport Secretary Ruth Kelly will be leading a separate review into Heathrow's own response to the incident. Failed asylum seekers could be sent to the Balkans under new government plans for overseas return hubs. The proposals, still at an early stage, would see the UK pay host countries like Albania or Serbia to house migrants who've exhausted all appeal routes. Families with children, though, would be excluded, but the scheme could offer a solution for those who can't be returned to unsafe countries. It follows similar EU proposals and comes after the Prime Minister scrapped the Rwanda scheme while vowing to cut net migration. Refugee groups, though, have slammed the idea, warning it's more about headlines than workable solutions. The government is planning more than £2 billion in annual cuts to the civil service under a major cost-saving drive. Departments will be told to slash spending on HR policy and office management by up to 15%. Frontline services are being protected, but unions warn thousands of jobs could go. They're urging ministers to now come clean about which services will stop altogether. It comes ahead of Rachel Reeves' spring statement on Wednesday, and we will, of course, be covering that live for you right here on GB News. Turning to the situation in Ukraine, and 3 people, including a child, have sadly been killed in a Russian drone strike on Kyiv overnight, with fires breaking out in high-rise buildings. The Ukrainian president is urging allies to now apply new pressure on Moscow to end the war. Russia has said in response it shot down nearly 60 Ukrainian drones and confirmed 1 person died in a car fire. US and Ukrainian officials are set to hold talks in Saudi Arabia today. Russian negotiators will also be in Riyadh, with the Kremlin calling today's planned talks with the US difficult technical discussions. And in sport, Lewis Hamilton has been disqualified from the Chinese Grand Prix after a technical infringement was found on his Ferrari. Post-race checks revealed one of his skid blocks was below the minimum thickness, costing him a 6th-place finish. His teammate Charles Leclerc was also disqualified with his car underweight. Hamilton had won Saturday's sprint race in Shanghai. That was his first victory for the Italian team. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you at the top of the hour, and Dawn will be straight back after this.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you very much for joining me. We are now going to talk chocolate. But a school has come under fire for scrapping its annual Easter service to respect, you guessed it, other religions. The school sent letters to parents saying the school wanted to create a more inclusive atmosphere and respect diversity. This has led to concerns Christmas could be cancelled next. Now, are parents right to worry? Lots of them you can understand. This is not a religious school. This is an ordinary primary school in Hampshire. There is nothing, you know, it's not... It's just an ordinary school for ordinary kids, by the way, in Hampshire. But we're asking, you know, are we cancelling Easter? Are we losing our Christian culture in this country? Joining me now is Vicar of Christ Church in New Malden, Reverend Stephen Kurt. Thank you very much for joining me today, Reverend. I find it's quite an upsetting story. What did you feel about reading this one?
I think it's really sad, and I think based on perhaps an illegitimate fear, really, of I think people might think that we've got to be, Christianity, not everyone in this country are Christians, but the festival of Easter is one which is obviously specifically Christian, obviously really important to Christians, but it's about hope. And it's about everything bad and dreadful and awful in this world being met with God's love and being defeated, and about the triumph of that love, bringing hope for the entire world. So while we can't expect everyone to believe what's at the basis of that, I think we need messages of hope very badly at the moment in the world. And I think it's a great shame when something like Easter is seen with so much suspicion that it gets cancelled. But I think Christians have got to respond with, with the confidence that says, that Jesus himself was cancelled. Crucifixion was the ultimate form of cancelling, and he responded to that with love, and that's why Christians believe the resurrection happened. So I think when these sort of things happen, Christians have got to just try to carry on showing love, showing that they are there to show love to everyone, and to try to sort of win the argument really through showing love rather than just getting indignant and angry and too annoyed about it. But I think it is a great shame, because I think this world desperately needs hope, and we can respect and include people of all religions while not cancelling any of them, really. And I wouldn't want Hanukkah or Diwali or anyone's festival sort of cancelled, certainly in the cause of inclusion. It's a strange thing.
Just one very quick question, finally, Reverend. Would you still describe this country as a Christian country?
I think it's a complex question to answer, because I think in lots of ways we've got a lot of the trappings of cultural Christianity. In many ways we're post-Christian, because a lot of people have stopped sort of believing a lot of what's at the basis of it. But I think there's still a lot of desire for Christian values. Everyone wants to believe that love has a power, a strange, mysterious power to punch above its weight, to bring about change, to bring hope to people. And so I think a lot of people still want what Christianity is meant to stand for. But I think the church is perhaps, and I include myself in this as a vicar, we've got to make sure that we really are showing that message by the way that we act, by the way that we respond, particularly in situations like this, because this is a confused situation. And I think we've got to, try and respond to it with love and sensitivity, but with a clarity that we really do believe this stuff, and we believe it can change the world.
Thank you very much. That's Reverend Stephen Kurt from the Christ Church in New Malden. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. OK, I still have my panel with me, Charlie Rowley and Nikki Hodgson. There are two sides to this story. The other side of it is that, have you ever tried getting an Easter egg these days? You know how difficult Easter eggs are? This is actually a Easter egg that comes in the form of a giant chocolate biscuit, basically. And my panel also have an example of Easter eggs. Charlie, would you like to show us yours?
Yes, this is... this was.
Hold it
Still
up, Charlie.
is.
Yes,
this is a very festive dinosaur here.
Easter T-Rex.
Easter T-Rex.
Yeah.
Much like some of the views that we...
Yes. And Nikki, you have an Easter...
A lovely Highland cow.
Right.
You see.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, you get new animals.
Keep holding it up.
You get new animals at springtime. Makes perfect sense to me. Why not?
Yes. The point of that particular story is actually Easter eggs now are coming in so many different random shapes and sizes. Eggs are actually quite rare. Now, eggs are a traditional part of Easter. So, Charlie, put the dinosaur down, Charlie.
Sorry.
Charlie, stop eating it as well. Are we losing what Easter is about and the Christianity that we have in this country? We've got schools cancelling it because they want to be more diverse and inclusive. You've got an Easter T-Rex,
yes,
which I'm sure is very tasty.
Yes.
Oh, that's quite cute, actually. You've got Sam Francis looking in envy at your T-Rex, I have to say.
I'll give him the head later on if he wants.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. OK, but are we in danger of losing the fact that we are a Christian country?
Totally. And I'm just... as much as I love that reverend there, I can't disagree more, because the way to celebrate diversity is to celebrate everything. If you do what this head teacher has done, which is crack pottery on another level, just to say, well, cancel everything because it's too difficult and it's too complicated because of inclusivity, you end up celebrating nothing. And that doesn't further our education about other religions. That doesn't further our understanding of other cultures, so we can live together in harmony and understand that actually your religion might be different to mine. We might all be wearing the same uniform, the same school uniform, because we are as one in this building, in this establishment, but we celebrate our diversity because we are unique and individuals. And if you start dumbing down Christianity in this country and allowing other religions just to sort of flourish because it's OK for them, but we're far too polite and we can't celebrate our own history and what the real celebration of Easter is about, then I think, where's this country going?
The country, as far as the school's concerned, Nikki, so they might have cancelled Easter and the Easter bonnet parade for 5-year-olds, but they are celebrating Refugee Week in June.
I find it really odd because, my daughter's 2, she goes to a nursery, everything is celebrated equally. All religious holidays are celebrated with some kind of activity and they're given all equal weighting in the nursery, and I think that's how it should be. I mean, I went to Christian schools and I'm not baptised. I was always terrified I was going to hell, but I know I've always had a lot of...
You might still be...
and I might still be going anyway, but I've always had a lot of affection for Christianity because I had a lot of people that taught me a lot of beautiful moral things that I still hold, even if I don't believe in Jesus and God and all the rest of it. But the Easter bonnet parade, come on. I mean, my favourite Easter film, Easter Parade, with Judy Garland, I'll be watching next week because that's what I do every year. What's wrong with Easter bonnets? They're not tied to Christianity in any way. Aren't they a celebration of new life, of spring? I'm a bit pagan, and there are loads of ways you can celebrate this time of year. I think the cow's absolutely fine.
Chocolate cow, you can bite their head off as well, and don't you get started on that one again. OK, thank you. What do you think? I mean, are we in danger of, losing the fact we are a Christian country? Or do you think we're not anymore? Let me know, gbnews.com/your say. Now, if you are in search of escaping for Easter and you're heading off somewhere lovely, here is the winter sun forecast for some of those top European holiday destinations for you.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
After a wet and windy couple of weeks for Spain and Portugal, there's some dry weather on offer and plenty of sunshine across the eastern Mediterranean too. Still some showers affecting the far north of Spain and Portugal and some heavy downpours across parts of Italy and Croatia over the next couple of days. But across the eastern parts of the Mediterranean, parts of Turkey and Cyprus, plenty of sunshine on offer. The best of the sunshine through the rest of the week, though, definitely across the Canary Islands, and highs here likely to reach around 21 or 22.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We'll see some sunshine across the UK this afternoon, and when the sun comes through, feeling pleasantly warm for the time of year, but equally a fair number of showers around, particularly towards the south and southeast of the UK. That's all thanks to low pressure being close by. A bit of a chilly northeasterly breeze coming in off the North Sea too, keeping some North Sea coasts on the chilly side. But elsewhere, a fair bit of cloud as we go into the afternoon. Some bright spells at times. Isolated showers towards the north-east of the UK, but the focus for the heaviest showers will be down towards the south and south-east. So one or two of those could be heavy, even thundery in nature, giving one or two spray conditions on the roads and one or two isolated flooding impacts as well. But temperatures doing fairly well with the bright weather comes out between the showers, up to 16 or 17 Celsius, near average towards the north and northwest of the UK. As we go into the end of the afternoon, a lot of fine weather to end the day across Scotland. Isolated showers dying out, so all in all not too bad. An end to the afternoon here. Plenty of sunshine too for Northern Ireland. Bit of patchy cloud towards the east of the province. Patchy cloud too for northwest England, so some sunshine at times here. But then we run back into that area of thicker cloud across parts of England and Wales, giving some showers at times. Still some heavy, even thundery showers to contend with as we go into the end of the afternoon across the south east of the UK. Those showers will tend to fade away as we go through the evening, so becoming mostly dry across England and Wales as we go into the overnight period. Fair bit of low cloud around though, turning quite murky, certainly on the hills by the morning on Monday. Whereas towards the north and northwest, apart for some rain up towards the far northeast of Scotland, plenty of fine weather around, some clear spells. But turning chilly here, we'll see a touch of frost by Monday morning, with temperatures down to -4 Celsius in some rural spots. As we go into Monday itself, low cloud will lift across England and Wales to give some fine weather, some sunshine developing as we go into the afternoon. All in all, not too bad a day on Monday, but notice some wet weather moving in across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, becoming quite breezy here too, but temperatures still above the seasonal average, peaking at around 15 Celsius towards the south-east of the UK.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to the Weekend with me, Dawn Newsom. Thank you so much for your company. Hope you're having a lovely Sunday afternoon. Now, we're certainly having some fun in the studio with my panellist, Charlie Rallina, now eating a chocolate dinosaur that's aimed at a 5-year-old, but he's enjoying it. Now, on a serious note, today actually marks 5 years since lockdowns began. Do you remember that? Boris Johnson behind that lectern saying, I'm all very serious, you know, keep your distance, stay home, sing happy birthday, washing out, whatever. But Brits are now reflecting on how the situation was handled by that there Boris Johnson and his government. A new government survey reports that, YouGov survey reports that 56% of Brits think the Tories dealt with the pandemic badly, while only 38% thinking they did a good job. I don't know who those 38% were either. So were lockdowns the right call? Right, let's going to come to you on this one first, Nikki. We haven't got a very brief time on this one. Good or bad?
They were bad. The social effects have been deleterious on mental health, on children, on people's connections to each other, and there was never the evidence to support them.
The first lockdown was the right thing to do. I know it's very difficult to sort of look back and...
Which is 23rd of March 2020.
Exactly, yes. And I think everybody... because people made that choice. You know, I remember going out on the 23rd of March because I knew lockdown was sort of happening.
Yeah, I did too.
And it was deserted because people had made that choice. You could see the images that were coming across northern Italy in particular. You saw the state of their health service. Everybody was terrified. So the first lockdown, absolutely the right thing to do. And I think the majority of people accept that. The ones that came later, wrong. And I think there was too much focus on government on the numbers of hospitalisations and people that were having COVID. There was no discussion at all about the other numbers that they couldn't see, which is like school kids, people that needed to go and see their elderly relatives, or the overwhelming majority of us who could have gone about our daily lives with caution, but we could have taken the responsibility ourselves without having all of these measures government imposed on us.
I think briefly, Nikki, it was the hypocrisy at the same time.
Of course.
The people setting the rules broke all their own rules.
Of course, and it's still disgusting seeing those pictures now. I don't care what anyone says. You know, Boris Johnson didn't care. He really thought it was one set of rules for him and his staff and another for everybody else.
OK, the inquiry is still going on, but the first report has found that the lockdown led to more deaths and greater economic damage than there should have been. I'm Dawn Neaston, this is GB News. Loads more coming up, but first it is time for the weather with Marco, and let's hope we're all in for a nice Sunday afternoon. What do you reckon? Marco, take it away.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We'll see a mixed bag in the weather over the next few days. Some sunshine at times, but some patchy rain too, and temperatures generally above the seasonal average. Low pressure starting to pull away to the southeast of the UK, bringing some showers across the southeast corner. A bit of a chilly northeasterly breeze, but a ridge of high pressure starting to topple in from the northwest too. So we hold on to some showers across the south and southeast as we go through the evening. Some of those could be quite heavy, giving the odd rumble of thunder in places, some spray on the roads too. Clearer skies out towards the north and northwest. The showers will ease across the southeast overnight, leaving some low clouds, some fog in places on the hills especially, whereas towards the north and northwest is a clearer picture, and here turning quite chilly, a widespread frost, certainly in rural spots, temperatures down to -4 or so in some rural areas by Monday morning. The low cloud across the south and southeast of the UK will tend to ease in the morning tomorrow, but the best of the conditions will generally be across the north of the UK. Some rain across the Northern Isles, but for mainland Scotland, plenty of sunshine to start the day, but a chilly start here, so there will be some frost around in places. Some frost too for parts of Northern Ireland, but plenty of sunshine here. Quite bright across the northwest of England, parts of Wales, and then we run into that low cloud across the south and southeast of the UK, but notice the fairly mild conditions here to start the day on Monday. As I say, that low cloud will lift across the south and southeast to leave plenty of fine weather across the bulk of the UK on Monday. Some sunshine coming through at times, but notice towards the north and northwest, certainly across the north and west of Scotland into western parts of Northern Ireland. Some rain moving in as we go through the day and turning quite breezy here, certainly into the afternoon. Temperatures though still pretty respectable for the time of year, peaking around about 13 degrees towards the northeast of the UK, up to 15 or so towards the southeast, that's 59 in Fahrenheit. Outbreaks of rain will move their way southeastwards across Scotland and Northern Ireland as we go through the overnight period, pushing into the north of England by Tuesday morning, but staying mostly fine towards the southeast. Further rain moving in from the northwest across the UK as we go through the rest of the week, but weakening as it moves its way southeastwards, and temperatures still above the seasonal average.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not one, but two sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound? For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock on Sunday, the 23rd of March. This is the weekend on GB News. Thank you so much for your company this afternoon. Now we have a packed hour coming up for you. Our main stories: Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davey is accusing Kemi Badenoch of sneering at local communities and spending more time on social media than on tackling the issues people face. He also took a swipe at Donald Trump.
Yes, Ed Davey taking a pop at Kemi Badenoch, but really the whole speech was dominated by Donald Trump. Stand up to Trump, the central message. I'll bring you more details shortly.
Fighting talk from the Lib Dems. Meanwhile, the Metropolitan Police have reacted with fury to accusations the force surrendered to a Black Lives Matter mob in London at the height of the group's protest. But is there more to these accusations of two-tier policing? And become a brickie. That appears to be what the Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson is telling school leavers as the government push kids towards a career on the building site rather than a life on benefits. Is this the right move for Labour? And a probe is launched into Heathrow's shutdown following a major power outage as flights have finally resumed. But could this have been avoided?
Well, after 2 investigations have been announced into the events of Friday, passengers are breathing a huge sigh of relief after operations generally return to normal. We'll have all the latest in this hour.
I'm Dawn Neeson and this is The Weekend. So if you've missed the first hour of the show, you've honestly missed a cracker that did involve one of my panellists called Charlie Rowley eating a chocolate dinosaur live on air, because Easter and dinosaurs, well, there's a common link, isn't there? Of course there is. So let me know, are you eating a chocolate dinosaur at this moment? You can tell us, come on, we're friends here together. Because this show is all about you, and I just want you to get involved as much as you can on the stories we're discussing today or anything you want to talk about. It's your show. Simple to get involved. Simply go to gbnews.com/yoursay and join in our conversation. I've already mentioned him. It's a former senior Conservative advisor, Charlie Rowley, who's got a half-eaten chocolate dinosaur with him. I have no idea where I get these people from. And broadcaster and author Nikki Hodgson is very sensibly keeping her little chocolate cow for her daughter, which is lovely. Thank you very much. And if you're watching, Mummy's on her way home soon. But before we get stuck into today's stories, let's get the news with Sam Francis, who's been very serious for us.
Dawn, thank you, and good afternoon to you. 2 minutes past 2. Let's get you up to date on the top stories. And Pope Francis has made his first public appearance in 5 weeks, waving to crowds cheering from a Rome hospital window. Take a listen. Well, doctors say the 88-year-old suffered 2 very critical episodes that put his life in danger. He was admitted to hospital in February and will now need at least 2 months of rest at the Vatican. His doctors also say the pontiff is now stable but needs that time to recover. It's the first time the Pope has been seen since his health scare began. Sir Ed Davey has accused Labour of allowing Donald Trump to bully Britain on trade amid reports the government could ditch a tax on tech giants to avoid US tariffs. The Lib Dem leader says the move would benefit Elon Musk and is now calling for tariffs on Tesla in response, and for Britain to lead a coordinated response with Europe and Canada. The Chancellor, though, says she hasn't ruled out changes to the digital services tax as talks with Washington continue. Rachel Reeves insists firms should pay tax where they operate, but admits a balance must be struck to protect UK exports. Failed asylum seekers could be sent to the Balkans under early-stage government plans to set up overseas so-called return hubs. The centres would house people whose asylum claims and appeals have been rejected, including those who can't be returned to unsafe countries. Payments would be made to host countries, with current proposals focused on Albania, Serbia and Bosnia. The move follows a similar idea floated by the EU and comes after the Prime Minister scrapped the Rwanda scheme. The government is planning more than £2 billion in annual cuts to the civil service under major cost-saving drives. Departments will be told to slash spending on HR, policy and office management by up to 15%. Frontline services are being protected, though, but unions warn thousands of jobs are at risk. They're urging ministers to come clean about which services will stop altogether. It, of course, comes ahead of Rachel Reeves' spring statement on Wednesday as pressure is growing on her to balance the books. Well, Chief Secretary to the Treasury Darren Jones denies that Labour is heading for austerity. Earlier, he told GB News there's no return to the past. That's after claims from the party's left that the Chancellor is wielding the axe.
There was a huge increase at the budget in the autumn last year, £100 billion of additional capital investment, £40 billion of additional tax rises going straight into frontline public services. That was a big injection of spending because we needed to get a grip of public services after the mess that we found them in from the last Conservative administration.
Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride, meanwhile, says Rachel Reeves is trying to make out there's nothing to see ahead of her spring statement, but he told GB News it couldn't be further from the truth.
This government has killed growth stone dead, and her fiscal headroom, as it's called, the margin against her targets, has probably evaporated entirely. And that's leading to really what is going to be a much bigger event than what would be a spring statement, which would be simply standing up and effectively reading out what the OBR is saying in terms of its latest forecasts.
And just before I hand you back to Dawn, take a look at this. 3 towering blocks have come crashing down in Glasgow today in a spectacular demolition, I should say, that drew crowds and cheers. As you can see there, that 26-storey building stood since the 60s, but were ruled unfit to live in and will be replaced with nearly 400 affordable homes instead. The controlled blast sent huge dust clouds rolling across the city, and residents were told to shut windows and keep pets indoors. Not everyone, though, has welcomed the demolition, with some campaigners calling it a waste and warning of its environmental impact. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'm off to try and find myself an Easter egg of my own. Now, though, I'll hand you back to Dawn, who's just wiping her mouth, I can see in the corner, full of chocolate.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you very much, Sam. We did share with him. We don't hate him that much, honestly. He did get a little tiny bit of chocolate dinosaur. He's just far too polite to eating it on air, unlike some people we could mention, Charlie Brown. Literally got a mouth of chocolate as I speak. OK, now we've got a packed show for you, so stop messing around, Dawn. Let's get on with the stories, shall we? Sir Ed Davies accused Labour of allowing Donald Trump to bully Britain on trade amid reports the government could ditch a tax on tech giants to avoid US tariffs. The Lib Dem leader says the move would benefit Elon Musk and is now calling for a tariff on Teslas. And for Britain to lead a coordinated response with Europe and Canada. The Chancellor says she hasn't ruled out changes to the digital services tax as she talks with Washington continue. Rachel Reeves insists firms should pay tax where they operate, but admits a balance must be struck to protect UK exports. Sir Ed Davies has also had a pop at President Donald Trump. Joining me now to tell us what is going on is GB News political correspondent, the wonderful and long-suffering Catherine Forster. Catherine, live at the Lib Dem conference. Make it crisp and sexy and full of impact for us.
Yes, this was a Lib Dem speech from Sir Ed Davey, like no other. Frankly, we're here in Harrogate. You would think they might have been focusing on the Conservatives and the local elections, but not a bit of it. Sir Ed Davey started his speech with the words, "We meet at a time of great peril," and ended his speech with the words, "Let's go to battle." Before he even began speaking, we had a sort of 30-second video montage centred around Donald Trump. Donald Trump overshadows everything, and a very tough message from Sir Ed Davey around Trump, saying that he is a bully, saying that Labour's approach is basically, let's be nice to him and hope he won't hurt us. Sir Ed Davey says appeasement never works with bullies. He says that we should slap tariffs back on the US, that the US, Trump will only respond to strength. He accused Kemi Badenoch and the Tories of sneering at people and said that the Tories had abandoned our communities. But a lot of his ire, apart from Donald Trump, was reserved for Reform and Nigel Farage. He said that Nigel Farage thinks that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are great, not in a look at we have to be pragmatic and work with them kind of way, more in a teenager with a celebrity crush kind of way. He also said that Nigel Farage never speaks about care or the NHS in Parliament, implied that he thinks Reform would want to privatise the NHS. And he says Reform would turn our great country into little more than a Donald Trump tribute act. He said it was unpatriotic and un-British. So really, really strong words from Sir Ed Davey, and not the thing that you normally, I think, expect to hear from the Liberal Democrats.
Catherine, quickly and just finally, how did his words go down? Did he get a rousing round of applause?
Yeah, he did. He got a big standing ovation. He got a lot of cheers around standing up to Trump, because the Lib Dems say that they're the only party doing it. And interestingly, you would expect them to be talking about close relations with the EU, customs union, so on and so forth, as they always do. He did say that, but he said it very late on in the speech. That was a sort of side bit, if you like, to the basic message that the world has changed and we need to stand up to Trump. Of course, he thinks the best way to do that is by standing with Europe. But also, you know, on Canada, the government has said pretty much nothing about Canada. It's obviously very difficult what Trump is talking about, annexing Canada. But Sir Ed Davey, very, very outspoken on that. And in fact, in the video at the beginning, there was a clip of Trump talking about maybe sending troops to Greenland, because, of course, he would also rather like to get Greenland off Denmark. Yeah, it did go down well.
OK, interesting. Thank you very much. That's GBNews political correspondent Catherine Forster. Thank you very much, Catherine. OK, let's see what Charlie and Nikki make of this one. Charlie, you've been in politics for quite a while now. I'm sorry, does anyone care what the Lib Dem say about anything?
Well, it looked packed to the rafters there, didn't it, in the background? Poor old Catherine there by herself. But,
That's a bit mean. But, I mean, joking aside, I mean, yeah, Sir Ed Davey, who we're used to seeing on various water slides and surfboards and everything, I mean, came out, and it's a, you know, rousing speech to his faithful. But does it mean anything?
No, it doesn't. And to be fair, yes, I mean, Catherine said that the hall was packed, and, you know, it was to his party faithful, and they've got 70 MPs, so, you know, there was obviously a certain section of society that voted them in. But you're right, it means nothing. It's in the run-up to, you know, obviously we've got a set of local elections, and so every party will be trying to rally the troops, and this is the Lib Dems go of it. But you're totally right. It's playing to a crowd of people who want to go back into the EU or want closer alignment with the EU at the very same time. And it's all very well attacking Trump. I don't know what that's got to do with the local elections, but there you are. But, you know, that might galvanise their support, who knows. But attacking Donald Trump when he said that he's going to impose 25% of tariffs on the EU, Why on earth would you want to be in the EU if you're just then going to have that thrust upon you? It makes no economic sense at all. Even the Labour government have worked out that they're not doing that because they want to avoid those kinds of tariffs. They want to get a trade deal with the US. Rachel Reeves has said she's going to give herself 2 weeks to try and get that sorted ahead of the next budget, so just after the spring statement. So, you want to be doing business with our closest ally, not, cutting your nose off to spite your face.
If this is about the local elections, concentrate on what's going on in Somerset rather than what Donald Trump's doing with Greenland.
Yeah, I like to call this theoretical politics because at the end of the day, they haven't been in power. Well, there are other words too, Dawn, and they're not going to be in power anytime soon. I suppose, with my idealistic head on, I think, well, it's good for people to still be pushing for what they absolutely want to happen rather than the compromises that have to be made when you're actually in power, and maybe that has an impact somewhere down the line. But, apart from kind of pleasing the audience, I don't really see much real-world effect.
I think probably the only thing I can think of is that the Lib Dems are trying to just motivate their base support. So, even if you're not really interested in what's happening locally, you want to come out and shore up that base, give something people to vote for, which is why obviously the Lib Dems will play to that particular crowd. The Tories obviously launched their local elections campaign, trying to manage expectations, but there's still Reform will obviously motivate its base as well. So I think it's about what's going to get a Lib Dem voter out, and it might be Donald Trump.
Do you think Donald Trump would be worried about this?
I don't think Donald Trump worries about much at all, otherwise he wouldn't do half of what he does. But I actually completely agree with Charlie on this. It is about galvanising potentially their section of the electorate, isn't it? It's about building that relationship, keeping them on side, and then hopefully, when everything goes wrong in the next few years, the Lib Dems might stand more of a chance at the next
Bear
election.
in mind, Charlie, the Lib Dems were very much in bed with the Conservative Party at one point, the coalition government, not literally, Nikki, the coalition government. Could you ever see a coalition government between the Lib Dems and any other party again?
Well, I think Lib Dems and Reform would be quite a sight, wouldn't it?
Oh, my goodness.
You definitely had
I was going to say, most of us were terrified the first time with Nick Clegg and David Cameron. I don't think I could ever, countenance it again.
I can see a situation whereby, in a few years' time, if the polls stay as they are, where it's a real sort of head-to-head at the minute between Labour and Reform, and Tories coming in sort of third place, and then the Lib Dems lagging behind, if you have a split vote between Reform and the Conservatives, which kind of lets Labour in through the back door, but on a massively reduced number of seats, they might need the support of the Lib Dems to hang on and to stay in power and to have that, whether it's an actual coalition or a vote and supply confidence arrangement, whatever it is. I can see a situation where maybe the Lib Dems and Labour form a coalition, but I could also see, if there are enough seats there, uniting of the right and Reform and the Conservatives.
Interesting times in politics, aren't they? Just hope Donald Trump was listening to Ed Davey very closely now. Pretty sure he wasn't, but anyway. For all the best analysis and opinion on that story and more, please do go to our website, which is gbnews.com. Now, time is running out for your chance to spruce up your spring and grab designer watches, a designer bag and £17,777 in Rachel Reeves free cash. What would you spend it on? Well, you could start in a cracking summer, couldn't you? Well, it could all be yours, and here's all the details you need to win it.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could be a spring winner, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. Cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag and not one, but 2 sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. With Charlie Rowley here sitting working out how he can win it and what he can do with his bag and the cash. But he's not allowed to enter, but you are, so get entering now and good luck with that one. And there's still loads to come in today's show. The Metropolitan Police have reacted with fury to accusations the force surrendered to a Black Lives Matter mob in London at the height of that group's protest. But is there more to these accusations of two-tier policing? We'll be delving into that one. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. We'll see you very soon.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Britain's Newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
I ended up being hospitalised and I was diagnosed with it within the first few days of being in hospital. I was in hospital for 2 months and I came out about 13 months ago, something like that. And I realised that there are people that aren't as lucky as me that don't have that platform to be able to talk about it, bring it out in the public, and deal with the stigma, because there is still a stigma.
A lot of people don't really know what bipolar is. So in you, Heston, how did it manifest itself?
It's funny because before the diagnosis, I mean, everything, many things, from thinking the TV was talking to me to hallucinating stuff. The downside is suicidal thoughts, which seemed normal at the time. The upside is the thing is grandiosity, somewhere between Superman and Jesus Christ. Wow. Save the world, love everybody, everything is fantastic. And then it comes crashing down. It's a bit like a toddler, you know, an overexcited child. And when a kid gets overexcited and then something happens and then they start crying.
Wow. So massive highs, big lows.
Yeah, but I thought everything was normal. It's only now that I've come out the other side, so to speak, that I look back and can see some of the character traits. I mean, my patience levels were almost non-existent before. I'm a lot more patient. I'm talking much slower. I was talking very quickly.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Newsom. Thank you so much for your company this Sunday afternoon. I hope you're having a lovely weekend out there. Now, this one's going to annoy you. The Met Police face accusations of two-tier policing, with Number 10 allegedly put in danger when armed officers were removed to deal with the BLM protests during the pandemic. The Met Police strongly disagree with these accusations, by the way, saying this is misleading. While we cannot comment on the specifics of security matters, Downing Street remained fully protected by armed officers throughout. It's completely wrong to suggest security of the site was compromised. As a matter of routine, in any policing, any protest, we would seek to avoid firearms officers coming into contact with protesters. Well, if you remember the BLM, the Black Lives Matter, it's just after lockdown, wasn't it? And we all remember those vivid news footage of the police horse bolting as people were throwing things at it, and the poor lady on that police horse is now in court. She's still not recovered from her injuries after being thrown from the police horse. And there did seem to be a matter of the police sort of stepping back and maybe not going in as harsh as they would if they had been another type of protester. Joining me now is social policy analyst Rakib Ehsan. Rakib, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. Now, obviously, you've just heard what I read out from the Met Police. You've written a very, very strong piece in today's Mail on Sunday about this situation. Tell us about what you say.
So in the piece that I authored for the Mail on Sunday, I was making the point that when it comes to reacting to various forms of public disorder, when you look at policing approaches, there are discrepancies, there are inconsistencies as well. When it comes to the method of policing. So when it came to the BLM protests, I felt that there was this narrative being provided that these were largely peaceful, mostly peaceful protests. And it wasn't just the Met Police who are guilty of that. I'd also say that the BBC delivered that kind of narrative as well. But then when you look at other forms, remember the Hair Hills riots in Leeds, the police were effectively in retreat in response to those riots which took place after a group of were taken in by social services from a Romani family. And I think that also when you look at the Southport riots, I think the reaction was very different, where you had Merseyside.
Hello, Rakib. I think we've lost you, Rakib. We will try and get Rakib back on that one. But basically what Rakib is saying in the piece is written that the Black Lives Matter protests in London, June 2020, if you remember them, they were described as largely peaceful, despite, as I said, that police lady getting thrown from her horse. She's still fighting for compensation and suffers horrific injuries. And I think it was literally within days of those riots where the police... I'm sorry, but they did step back from this. We had our Keir Starmer and our Angela Rayner, I think it was, taking the knee. And as Rakib was saying in his piece, during the Hair Hills riots in Leeds, where police removed 4 Roma children, the police were not there at all. They left it. However, in the Southport riots, they were there straight away. And surely we all, as taxpayers, need to be policed exactly the same, no matter what ethnicity we are, what protest we are on. Charlie, what do you make of this story?
Well, I think everything that you've just said is completely true, and I think what Rakib was going to say was about those Southport riots, that if you looked at what happened in Southport, and then I think what happened in the West Midlands where there are riots, you have one chief inspector in the West Midlands saying, if you've got any knives or anything, if you've got any weapons, just dump them over there. We won't do anything about it. But in Southport, obviously, it was very much more heavy-handed. And I think there is obviously something for the Met in particular, because it's been found, I think, time and again to be, found guilty of institutional racism. Obviously, there have been certain cases like the Stephen Lawrence case, which is obviously a new story that came out over the weekend where new evidence has come to light. But I think there may be an inertia sometimes with the head of the police to say, right, we don't want to go back to a situation where we're seen to be causing more tension with particular communities.
So because the police have been accused of being racist in the past, they're more terrified now of BLM or anything involving another ethnicity.
If it's specific to BLM, then obviously, they wouldn't want to face that accusation again. So you risk, actually, public order by trying to be too polite about it. But you're absolutely right. Any protest needs to be policed in the same way. If there's any kind of a situation where somebody oversteps the mark or it gets out of hand, the police need to be as heavy-handed as they are in London, in the West Midlands, in Leeds and in Southport. There shouldn't be a two-tier policing system in this country. It doesn't matter the colour of your skin, what kind of protest you're on, if it's Pros Guards, the protest that seems to take place every other or every weekend in central London. If you're walking through the streets that's causing more hate or purporting more hate, then the police should come down on you as hard as they possibly can to get you off the streets, to allow the peaceful protest that the majority of people take part in.
Right, and that's the problem, isn't it? Because there is a distinction between peaceful protest and riots. And when a riot happens, it's usually a subsect of a protest. I've been on so many protests over the years, peaceful ones. It's a few people that actually aren't necessarily entwined with the greater good, and they go off and they want to be violent. And actually, interesting thinking about the Met. I was at the Sarah Everard protest, and the way the police treated us was abominable, and they were so quick to rush in and shut down a bunch of women celebrating a woman's life and talking about misogyny, and then at the same time we have what appears to be this two-tier setup when it comes to race. So there's no consistency at all.
And bearing in mind just timing-wise, the BLM riots occurred during the pandemic when there seemed to be no shortage of officers patrolling parks to stop people sunbathing or sitting on benches eating sandwiches, or kids playing football, little kids kicking a ball about.
I think that's right. And look, we police, as you alluded to earlier, we police by consent in this country. So as a society, we allow the police to sort of to do what they have to do. But I'm all for prevention. Prevention is key. So I have no issue actually if you see police officers engaging in things like the Notting Hill Carnival to an extent. Obviously just allowing everybody to make sure that they're safe, that they're enjoying their time. Whether it's the Pride marches as well. I think there is this crossover that the police are part of the public as well. But as soon as you cross that line, and as soon as there is a threat to the rest of the people there, or if you are doing anything that is above and beyond what's been agreed in that protest, that march, whatever it is, that procession, and it gets violent or it turns a corner, the police need to be there to react. They need to haul you off the streets. They need to do whatever they need to do to get you away from that situation, and particularly if it's down Whitehall in Downing Street. It doesn't matter what the government is.
Yeah, I mean, the Met Police have said, look, no, that isn't the case. This story is not reported as accurate as it could have been. But, I mean, two-tier policing does exist, doesn't it?
I think it does exist, and I think it's more nefarious than we think it is. I mean, the defence that they always have is, well, we can't possibly tell you what our plans are or how we manage things because it's secret. But they need to do something. If it isn't two-tier, then prove it isn't. Give us the trust back in this organisation that Charlie rightly says is meant to protect us, but it's part of the fabric of our society. We don't have that relationship with the authoritarian relationship with the police that some countries do, and that's to our good as a nation, and we need that trust rebuilding.
Yeah, we do. And if you were in doubt, taxpayers, that's you and I, by the way, will stump up £19.5 billion to fund policing in England and Wales over the next year. Are you getting a good service then? I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News, and there's plenty more coming up on today's absolutely packed show. But first, it is time for the news. We've driven Sam Smith away, unfortunately. Sam Francis away. We have the gorgeous Sophia Wenzer with us.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. These are your headlines from the GB Newsroom. Pope Francis has made his first public appearance in 5 weeks, waving to cheering crowds from a Rome hospital window. Doctors say the 88-year-old suffered 2 very critical episodes that put his life in danger. He was admitted in February and will now need at least 2 months of rest at the Vatican. His doctors say the pontiff is now stable but needs time to recover. It's the first time the Pope has been seen since his health scare began. In other news, Sir Ed Davies accused Labour of allowing Donald Trump to bully Britain on trade amid reports the government could ditch a tax on tech giants to avoid US tariffs. The Lib Dem leader says the move would benefit Elon Musk and is now calling for tariffs on Teslas and for Britain to lead a coordinated response with Europe and Canada. The Chancellor says she hasn't ruled out changes to the digital services tax as talks with Washington continue. Rachel Reeves insists firms should pay tax where they operate, but admits a balance must be struck to protect UK exports. Elsewhere, 3 people, including a child, have been killed in a Russian drone strike on Kyiv overnight, with fires breaking out in high-rise buildings. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is urging allies to apply new pressure on Moscow to end the war. Russia says it shot down nearly 60 Ukrainian drones and confirmed 1 person died in a car fire. US and Ukrainian officials are set to hold talks in Saudi Arabia today. Russian negotiators will also be in Riyadh, with the Kremlin calling Monday's planned talks with the US difficult technical discussions. And Lewis Hamilton has been disqualified from the Chinese Grand Prix after a technical infringement was found on his Ferrari. Post-race checks revealed one of his skid blocks was below the minimum thickness, costing him a 6th place finish. His teammate Charles Leclerc was also disqualified with his car underweight. Hamilton had won Saturday's sprint race in Shanghai, his first victory for the Italian team. Those are the latest GB News headlines. More in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Now, remember, this show is all about you, what you're thinking about the stories we're talking about or what you want to talk about. It's a Sunday lunchtime. Come on, anything goes. It's very easy to get involved, by the way, at gbnews.com/yoursay and join the conversation. We've got an absolutely packed show for it's our last half hour together. Come on, I'm getting emotional. Become a brickie. Yes, that appears to be what the Education Secretary, Bridget Billitson, is telling school leavers as she and the government push kids towards a career on the building site rather than turn to a life on benefits. Or, as a previous Labour said, everyone needs to go to university. Is this the right move for Labour, though? All of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. We'll see you very soon.
This spring, the Chancellor steps up to the dispatch box to make a statement. But what kind of statement will it be?
Taxes, spending, growth, benefits, cost of living. What's changing? And more importantly, how does it affect you?
Does she have the headroom to make headway?
Will it ease the squeeze or tighten the grip?
Will businesses boom or struggle to survive?
And does the spring statement have real impact, or is it just political posturing?
GB News brings you the analysis that matters. Just what it means for your money, your home, your future.
The Spring Statement 2025, Wednesday on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out, enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company on this lovely Sunday at lunchtime. Now, there's plenty more coming up on today's show. But before I tell you what we've got lined up, and Nana, a queer show, is on at 3 o'clock. She's always got a cracker, hasn't she? So let's find out what she's got now. Nana, what have you got coming up for us?
Why, thank you, Dawn. Now, look, we've got a busy political show. We're going to start with Rachel Reeves. Is she on the brink? Is it time? How long do you give her? Do you give her till the end of the year? Do you think she'll make it that long? Or will she be gone quicker than that? Well, there's one thing for sure. I think most people feel that she's on borrowed time in terms of her role as Chancellor of the Exchequer. Also, in my niggle, a school scrapping Easter celebrations. What on earth is that about? Apparently, it's all about diversity and inclusion, but obviously that, to me, sounds like division and exclusion. So I will let you know my views on that. I can imagine you probably know what they are. And net zero nonsense. Is it time for the government to come clean about it? It's not really going to be clean energy, is it? And it's going to cost us an absolute fortune. And frankly, I don't think it'll achieve the things that it is meant to achieve. But what do you think? We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'll be discussing how mad or how sensible it actually is. But that's all coming up in my show.
Don't want to miss that one. Thank you very much. Now, that's Nana coming up at 3 o'clock with a real packed humdinger of a show for you. Now, Labour's Bridget Phillipson is telling school leavers to swap their textbooks for hard hats and hit the construction sites. With a push for practical job opportunities, the Education Secretary is emphasising the importance of ensuring young people don't slide into worklessness and can access well-paying, stable roles in the sector. OK. Joining me now is the CEO of the Federation of Master Builders, Brian Berry. Brian, thank you very much for joining us today. Really appreciate your company. What do you make of what you've heard today on this one?
Well, look, it's really great news to hear government ministers talking about young people coming into the building industry. We definitely need more brickies, more carpenters, because previously the emphasis has been very much about going into higher education, emphasis having a degree. We've needed people in the trades for many, many years. We've had a skills crisis in this country for decades. So to hear the government talking now about encouraging young people to come into the building industry is really good news. So that is, I think, positive. There is definitely a need to train more young people. We've got 1.5 million homes to build, and the government knows actually the only way you're going to deliver that target is by getting more people into our industry.
Brian, it sounds great, and I'm all for it. I mean, most of my mates are builders, and most of them are much richer than I'll ever be, to be honest with you. But how's it going to work practically?
Well, that's a good question. I think what the details are that the government has said it's going to set up 10 new technical colleges, which is good. There's going to be £600 million put into this project over the next 4 years. And they said they were going to boost placements for young people. One of the problems in the building industry has been that a lot of young people have not been able to find a placement with a small employer. So we haven't seen the details of that yet, but I really hope that employers will be encouraged to take on more apprentices, because that's one of the major barriers to people coming into our industry. But this sounds very, very positive, which it is, but we need to go further, I think, because our colleges, particularly the further education colleges, have been underfunded for many years. So it's going to be quite a tall order to get them all back up and running. And of course, this takes time. Building new colleges, finding the people to teach. This will all take time, which will slow down the progress. So the top signal is very, very positive, but it all comes back to delivery.
Well, yeah, the devil is always in the detail, isn't it? I mean, the government are hoping this will help build the 1.5 million new homes that we need by the end of the decade, although everyone actually says we actually need a lot more than that. But there are an awful lot of shortages in the industry, aren't there? I mean, 20,000 bricklayers short, 20,000 ground workers, 8,000 carpenters. That's a lot of youngsters we need to get into this industry.
We do. So the government's talking about sort of 60,000 young people over the next 4 years. The Construction Industry Training Board has said we need 250,000 extra workers to come into our industry if we're going to build 1.5 million homes over the next 5 years. So it's a step in the right direction, but there's a lot to be done. And I think, we've still got a lot to do to make our industry attractive. And this is just part of the way. And I'd like to see, a more ambitious programme about reviewing all the qualifications for those coming into our industry. We know that actually, to come into the building industry, unfortunately, anyone can call themselves a builder, so that's not very good. So we'd like to see some licensing or accreditation of what it means to be a builder, to build up the reputation of our sector. So the government, is slowly waking up to the fact that actually its infrastructure and housing targets won't be met unless we have the people to do the work.
Just very, very quickly, Brian, I just want to pick your brain on this one. Do you think there is still snobbery involved in these trades? I mean, it was Tony Blair who infamously encouraged every child, whether it was suitable or not, to go to university. Do you think there is still, people look down on the building industry?
I do. I think we are making some progress there. I mean, over the decades, the trades have been looked down on, as has vocational training. And slowly we're beginning to realise if we're going to have a dynamic, productive country, we need people with real skills that are needed. We need every trade in this country. We need to remove it away from sort of degrees that serve little purpose to trades that actually are going to serve this country well in terms of building the homes, the new hospitals, the schools, the infrastructure that we desperately need. And these are trades where young people can come in, learn a trade, set up a business and do extremely well. They're well-paid jobs. So we need to actually embrace young people and overcome, I think, this sort of, inherent snobbery about a degree is worth more than learning a trade.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Brian. That's Brian Berry, CEO of the Federation of Master Builders. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Talking a lot of sense, I thought, to be honest with you. How's your bricklaying skills, Charlie?
Well, I played a bricky or two. I was on a visit once and they asked me to lay a brick when I was working in government. I was hopeless, absolutely hopeless. I didn't get...
It's not easy. It's actually not an easy job.
No, they didn't call me back.
No, that's why you sit here with us.
But it's, I think what you said at the very start, the idea that for years under the last Labour government, they were telling everybody, you must go to university, you must get a degree, you must do this, and I think that whole idea of vocational training and apprenticeships, all sort of fell by the wayside. And it kind of came back during the coalition years, but, still hasn't plugged the gap. Because what we've ended up doing is allowing lots of young people who are now on welfare and on benefits, at the same time as importing foreign workers to do things like plumbing and electricianing and building and all the rest of it. We've now got too many people in this country. We've got a housing shortage and we've got too many people on welfare benefits. So it's welcome that this Labour government is now saying, actually, there are skills and things that you can do, vocational training and all the rest of it. But it's a bit late now. But anyway, I think it's the right thing to do because the only final thing I'll say is that I can't think of anything better. We all want to leave something in this world and leave something to the next generation, whatever. I can't actually think of anything better than when you can drive past something, a house or an infrastructure project that you said, oh, I was part of that. That's my legacy.
Yeah.
That's actually quite wholesome, I think. So, why not?
Nikki, any house building by you yet?
Well, I wish I was practical enough. I can't even... Can I hammer a nail in? Yes. Probably can't screw in the wall. My mum's incredible at DIY, and I think I absolutely shunned it because she was good at it, and now I really regret it. I wish I was better. The thing that I was thinking about this is that actually, anecdotally, if you talk to tradespeople, they will say they could take more work on if they could get people to come and work with them. And there's a massive problem with retention with younger people. And what's that about? I'm loath to say it's because younger people aren't into hard work, but something has obviously got lost in translation, hasn't it, between people that have had these trades, made an amazing living out of it, own their own business, and then younger people that just don't want to do it. And I don't think it's just Tony Blair's sending everyone to university. I feel like there's something else socially that's gone on.
Well, I think that's absolutely right. And I think what it is the expansion of, in those early days of social media and television programme like The X Factor, where all of a sudden, actually, you didn't need an education. You could just go on one of these reality TV programmes, become a celebrity, get millions, and that's your lot.
And we do have 1 in 10 youngsters not in work, education or training. And we also know we have a ballooning benefits bill with anxiety and depression. So it might solve that problem as well. Let me know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Now, winter sunshine, because if you are heading off somewhere gorgeous, here's the forecast you need for those top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
After a wet and windy couple of weeks for Spain and Portugal, there's some dry weather on offer and plenty of sunshine across the eastern Mediterranean too. Still some showers affecting the far north of Spain and Portugal and some heavy downpours across parts of Italy and Croatia over the next couple of days. But across the eastern parts of the Mediterranean, parts of Turkey and Cyprus, plenty of sunshine on offer. The best of the sunshine through the rest of the week, though, definitely across the Canary Islands, and highs here likely to reach around 21 or 22.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We'll see some sunshine across the UK this afternoon, and when the sun comes through, feeling pleasantly warm for the time of year, but equally a fair number of showers around, particularly towards the south and southeast of the UK. That's all thanks to low pressure being close by. A bit of a chilly northeasterly breeze coming in off the North Sea too, keeping some North Sea coasts on the chilly side. But elsewhere, a fair bit of cloud as we go into the afternoon. Some bright spells at times. Isolated showers towards the northeast of the UK, but the focus for the heaviest showers will be down towards the south and southeast. So 1 or 2 of those could be heavy, even thundery in nature, giving 1 or 2 spray conditions on the roads and 1 or 2 isolated flooding impacts as well. But temperatures doing fairly well with the bright weather comes out between the showers, up to 16 or 17 Celsius, near average towards the north and northwest of the UK. As we go into the end of the afternoon, a lot of fine weather to end the day across Scotland, isolated showers dying out, so all in all not too bad, an end to the afternoon here. Plenty of sunshine too for Northern Ireland, bit of patchy cloud towards the east of the province, patchy cloud too for northwest England, so some sunshine at times here, but then we run back into that area of thicker cloud across parts of England and Wales, giving some showers at times. Still some heavy, even thundery showers to contend with as we go into the end of the afternoon across the south east of the UK. Those showers will tend to fade away as we go through the evening, so becoming mostly dry across England and Wales as we go into the overnight period. Fair bit of low cloud around though, turning quite murky, certainly on the hills by the morning on Monday. Whereas towards the north and northwest, apart for some rain up towards the far northeast of Scotland, plenty of fine weather around, some clear spells. But turning chilly here, we'll see a touch of frost by Monday morning, with temperatures down to -4 Celsius in some rural spots. As we go into Monday itself, low cloud will lift across England and Wales to give some fine weather, some sunshine developing as we go into the afternoon. All in all, not too bad the day on Monday, but notice some wet weather moving in across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, becoming quite breezy here too, but temperatures still above the seasonal average, peaking at around 15 Celsius towards the south east of the UK.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello and welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. And now, passengers have been told that cancellations and delays are expected to last for the rest of today and into next week after Heathrow Airport shut down for 15 hours. Meanwhile, it's emerged its CEO allegedly went to bed whilst the fire at the nearby substation raged on, leaving hundreds of thousands of people in the middle of flight chaos. That's nice of them, isn't it? I'm now joined by CB News reporter Tony Maguire. Tony, fingers crossed it's all back to normal as much as it can be now?
Yes, good afternoon. Well, it certainly sounds that way, doesn't it? It's certainly passengers who have been glued to their TV screens over the last couple of days will be glad to know that both Heathrow Airport and British Airways have said they expect to run a full complement of flights today. That's just 48 hours after 1,300 flights were affected and up to 200,000 passengers. Those are some big numbers affected by that fire at the substation here on Friday. Now, over the course of today, we've kind of got a better idea of these two investigations that are going to begin looking into the events of Friday. One is going to be an internal investigation by Heathrow Airport, which is going to look at the business continuity, the operational resilience of the airport and how it responded to that fire. Now, that's going to be run by former Transport Secretary Ruth Kelly, who's also a board member here at Heathrow Airport. And secondly, there's going to be a government investigation now. Ed Miliband, Energy Secretary, has said that he wants to discover the cause of the fire and, of course, how to avoid such a catastrophic avalanche of events from ever really happening again. Now, it's emerged that 10 years ago, Heathrow Airport was warned about this, warned about that single point of failure, but it's certainly from now the power is on, temporarily though it may be, while those other substations begin getting the power back to the airports.
Tony, thank you very much. That's GB News reporter Tony Maguire at Heathrow for us. Thank you very much. It sounds positive news. OK, right, OK, it sounds like things are back up and running, which is handy for me because I'm off to Heathrow next Saturday, so if I catch anyone there with the boxing matches, you're in trouble, OK? But, you know, there's nothing worse than being delayed on a flight or at an airport. Give me your worst example of holiday hell on flights.
I think there's a couple, but I think what just pips it to the post is I was coming back from Ibiza. Yes,
I thought it might be Ibiza.
Somewhere that we know. And I'd had a bit of a night out, I think, but it was probably a bad experience for lots of different reasons. But I wasn't very healthy, and and the flight was delayed, and when you're sitting at Ibiza airport waiting to depart, hoping for the best, it didn't take off, so I was sort of stranded for a while. But that wasn't enjoyable.
How about you, Nikki?
Well, I have a nut allergy, which is really serious. I have an EpiPen for it, and I ate something. I won't say which airline, even though I probably could see them. I ate something on an aeroplane which had nuts in, and I went into anaphylactic shock, and I was sick all over, and they had to call for a doctor, several doctors on the airplane, but I survived, obviously. But that wasn't pleasant, and I was going to see my mum in Australia. When I got to my mum's, I said, "Don't ever buy me a ticket on that cheap airline ever again." I won't mention it.
Wow. Well, that's fairly dramatic.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that one. Well, I'm glad you're here. OK, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GBNews. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Really appreciate your company. You don't want to go anywhere because Nana is up next at 3 o'clock. So just want to thank a very big thank you for Nikki and Charlie for being good sports and the yous out there for watching. I'm not here next weekend. I'm going to Heathrow to go off somewhere nice. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. But first, let's get the weather with Marco.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We'll see a mixed bag in the weather over the next few days. Some sunshine at times, but some patchy rain too, and temperatures generally above the seasonal average. Low pressure starting to pull away to the southeast of the UK, bringing some showers across the southeast corner. A bit of a chilly northeasterly breeze, but a ridge of high pressure starting to topple in from the northwest too.